guys, Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the video I posted yesterday. It was a song made by Dissident Prophet. It's called Human 2.0. And if you haven't checked it out, do so. It's only about 4 minutes long. It's a great song, great lyrics, and really prevalent to all the transhumanist stuff that we've been looking at on this channel, and is a good segue to what I want to talk about in this video today. Now I'm going to tie some things together from different aspects of what's happening in the field of technology and also transhumanism. First, you have the report yesterday from Engadget, and it's just all over the place. Oculus teams up with Xbox for game streaming controller. Oculus Rift is a virtual reality headset. You see this guy wearing it here. Comes with an earpiece and eye set, and it is basically a virtual reality, set of goggles that we were promised in the 80s. We were going to get this 30 years ago, but, somehow it took 30 years to get it out there, which is strange. But here it is. It's the Oculus E3, and it's out there. And this kind of technology we should expect to see more and more and more of. And why? Why are they putting out this kind of technology? Well, I think it has something to do with what Ray Kurzweil was recently quoted as talking about in an article published on Generation Opportunity. Google exec, humans will be hybrids by 2030. And anyone who's been following this channel, anyone who's seen my documentary Age of Deceit 2, Alchemy and the Rise of the Beast Image, and anybody that's familiar with all this talk about transhumanism, you would know that Ray Kurzweil is the head of engineering at Google, and he believes that we will become immortal by the year 2045, and now he's out there saying we'll be hybrids with nanobots in our brains by 2030. That's less than 15 years from now. That's pretty scary to think about. In less than 15 years, we're going to expect hybrid humans to be walking amongst us. Very alarming, if you ask me. Obviously, the technology has completely changed our trajectory in life, and one of them is in the bedroom. Now, I've touched on this topic a few times where, we looked at sex in the singularity and just sort of the disturbing thoughts of the transhumanists and the people that are pushing the singularity in terms of sex. Now, the New York Times have been running this short series called Robotica, episode 5 published yesterday, and it was called The Lover. And I'm not going to play any of it for you because, it's got some imagery that is pretty disturbing, but I want to show you some screenshots from it and tell you what this guy says. Now, the video follows a guy named Matt McMullen, and he is a sculptor, and he's also into robotics and stuff like that. He has sold life-size dolls since 1996, and with artificial intelligence and robotics coming into its own, he's basically integrating that whole process of the artificial intelligent machine aspect to his dolls. And first off, he says that he doesn't know what drives him, but he's always been led to sculpt the female body, which is kind of interesting. What is leading him? I think we'll know in a minute here. Matt McMullen is the CEO of Abyss Creations. Man, I mean, I know that these people don't necessarily try to relate themselves to anything biblical. I'm sure that that's not really what he's doing, but it's just always interesting to me how these sorts of companies or endeavors always reflect like the darkest things out of the Bible, right? I mean, obviously we're talking about the abyss that's mentioned in the Bible, mostly in the book of Revelation, although it appears in the Old Testament as well in various places. In Revelation 9, it talks about the abyss opening, the smoke rising, and this is where we see these hybrid creatures come out of the bottomless pit, and it's just this terrifying event that happens in the Bible in the future. And here this guy, Matt McMullen, is part of the company, CEO of Abyss Creations. So I thought that was interesting. But in any case, what's alarming is that he's creating these dolls, and he's talking about how what he wants to do is create that emotion, that emotional sensation of love, of sensuality, and all this stuff. And that's freaky because, we're talking about a machine here, and he's saying if the machine can duplicate that, then he's completed his mission, his goal. And here's what I thought was very disturbing. He talks about how this virtual person can exist on your iPhone or whatever and will be talking to you. And then when you get home, what do? You put on your Oculus And so you can see this other digital person, and then you can use the dolls to feel the person or this, AI machine thing. Anyway, here it is, Oculus Rift being used for this kind of purpose. So that's what we're introducing. This kind of technology is what we're introducing to our youth through video games, because video games is a great and innocent way to introduce this kind of thing. What's interesting is that what came out this week also on International Business Times was a story called Virtual Reality Rape. Transhumanists highlight ethical issues arising from new technology. And, they basically talk about how we need to redefine what it means to be violated and all the stuff, because if someone was wearing a haptic suit and somebody, hacked into your account and started making you do things you don't want to do, then that's equivalent to an assault. So I guess if I can commend the transhumanists as much as I can here for bringing up stuff like this, because they realize that there's going to be some new rules basically surrounding these new kinds of technologies. But they appeal to the natural human instinct, which I thought was very interesting. The final quote here, it talks about how the sexual encounter could be digitally mapped and transposed onto robotic bodies that look like children or animals, which is quite disturbing in itself. But Anders Sandberg, who is somebody that I quoted about 3 years ago when he spoke at the first Global Futures 2045 Congress, which was basically the first Russian mogul Dmitry Itskov, his conference, but the year before it came to America, when not a whole lot of people were talking about the conference. He had some very interesting quotes there, but in this example, he says that, quote, "I suspect we will become much more tolerant of many things that are currently weird and taboo. The issue ethicists may worry about is whether we would also become blase about things that should not be accepted," which is interesting. And then he says, "I am optimistic about it. I think that people actually do react to things that are true violations," which is sort of a contradiction. Again, he talks about how, we're gonna accept things that are considered taboo and weird now. But then he says that he's optimistic about people reacting to what are real, true violations. But again, you can't have it both ways. You can't suggest that there's this objective moral and ethical standard for what a violation counts as for a human being, and then suggest, we're going to change those things anyway. What we think is weird now will be considered normal. And so you can't both tout a relativistic morality and an objective morality at the same time. It's just not logical. So again, very interesting stuff that's all tied to these technologies that are coming out. And again, we're not talking about these issues. The church especially is not talking about these issues. And this is very troubling. I think we need to figure out what's acceptable, what's not, how to traverse, how to manage, our children's lives when it comes to these kinds of technologies that are being deployed to children in the video game platform. I think shows like Sword Art Online, which is an anime that if you don't know, go look it up. It's about these kids that go online into a virtual environment through something called the nerve gear. So basically your entire nervous system gets tapped into this virtual space, and basically the creator of the game traps them in the virtual space until they pass the game, in which several people die in the process, because if they are killed in the game, they're killed in real life. Stuff like that. That kind of stuff is what is alarming and is very possible in the short future. So I've brought it up before, and I will bring it up again because I know not everyone goes through all of the videos that I've posted, but Matthew 24:22, Jesus warns us, "And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." No flesh shall be saved. Something is happening to the human flesh, and we're seeing it happen right before our eyes. Jesus prophesied about the times we're living in now, and here we are. We're starting to see it happen. It's coming down real fast, guys, so we got to wake up. We got to help our fellow man understand what's happening, and we should preach the gospel to them. And again, it's something that I don't necessarily have a straightforward answer for in terms of what's okay. For example, like the Oculus Rift, in its sort of basic functioning, is probably kind of cool, to be able to wear that, to experience that virtual environment or whatnot. It's probably something that is fairly neat. But there are all kinds of nefarious things that come out of it, And it's very important for us to understand and keep up with this stuff, because the church is so far behind in so many of the cultural issues. And what I'm seeing in the cultural milieu of social media especially is a growing disdain for Christians. And what's worse is the Christian response to it and the sort of super fringe, super intense, hate-filled backlash, which is problematic as well. And maybe I'll address that in another video. But for now, I'm going to keep things short here. I have lots of projects in the works right now, and hopefully I can get into deeper studies in a few weeks here. But for now, I have tons of projects, including the movie INHUMAN, starring Tom Horn, which I have been given the title of producer and director for. So that's about it for this video. Hope you guys have a blessed day.